Hello, how are we this fine evening? Hello, Margaret. Hello, Darkstar, and welcome, Dissident Knight, as well. Hello, Aaron, as well. Welcome, welcome. And Donna, hello. I've not caught you for ages. How are you doing, hon? I'm... Donna. I'm reading Akamath, and I don't hate it, and I'm concerned. I just need you to know this. So this is just a update for my reading in October. I'll fetch all my stats up and all that biz in a minute. But how's everybody doing? We're in November now. I've seen the fireworks. We only have a couple of days till Guy Fawkes night here in the UK. And then it's the run until Christmas with Black Friday in the middle of it, which is pointless here. But how is everyone doing? What's everyone reading? What's everyone been up to? Has everyone had a good Monday before we dive in? I'm doing all right. You made my day more exciting. At least I'll tell you more. Okay, so I'm about halfway. I despise Tamlin with a passion, but Feyre isn't annoying me. So we all know I don't like book one. I almost like book 2. I'm not willing to say I like book 2 yet because I think it will do something that will annoy me. But Feyre makes sense. Her arc makes sense overall. There's the odd thing. I'm curious about the other characters we're getting to spend more time with, specifically Rice and Cassian and Azriel. And I can't remember the name, but there's the person who's second in charge of the Night Court, who is not a Fae, not a proper Fae anyway. Ammon, is it? They're interesting as well. They are fascinating to me. So, hey William, how's it going? I just finished Akasof and I dislike Favourite in that one. Fair enough. I won't be hitting any more books until January. So, but yeah. Yeah, Morrigan, I'm not sure what I think of, but that's because Morrigan mythologically is very different, and one of my favourite video characters, game characters, is called Morrigan as well. So there's a steep hill for that character to climb. Don't dislike them so far. I just Ianthe didn't like, and it's annoying me because there's an Ianthe in another thing. Hey, Elaine, in another book that I've read. You're doing it in 2026. Happy days. I will speak to you off air about stuff because there's some stuff this month which I'm not going into today. But yeah. Hello, JJ. How are you, JJ? JJ. It's not terrible. I'm even using a bookmark as well, which is not like me. But this month's reading, not this month's, last month's reading. Let's move me over there. And let's press the correct button because this is probably going to go. Is it that one? Yeah, there we go. So I thought it was going to be a really, really bad month. And in the end, it wasn't, which is nice. So, do you know, actually, just side point, do you know who might take part in that readathon? Noah, because he's into double figures for watching K-pop Demon Hunters now. So, but I do have some books potentially for it. So, there we go. But oh, it's stretched that very strangely, hasn't it? Right, let's maybe not do that. No, that one. Oh, no. Oh well, we can go over there. There we go. 9 books. So, bit of a weird month because it took me ages to get through any books, but that's because my first book of the month was a chonker. So, where's my actual thing? Let's put it over here so I can see it. Right, there we go. So, 6 months, just under 1,700 pages, 58 hours of audiobook. And the start of the month was primarily audiobook. So, as normal, adventurous, tense, and then a little bit of dark. Not as much dark this year. And most of it's been medium. That's not particularly interesting. Fancy heavy once again, and obviously we had a little bit of horror as well, with it being November, because you can't not read horror in November, but only 3. A bit of sci-fi in there as well, and I can't remember what the romance was, but I'm sure I'll remember in a minute. So, no smut. I didn't read any smut. So I've reviewed 7 of them so far. There's 2 I haven't. One was a reread anyway. But Mark, 3 great books, plenty of stuff that will spill over into next year. 2 of the books well over 500 pages. Well, this month I've got Akamath, obviously, which is 650-ish. And then I also have an arc from name's gone out my head. Fictional. Right. Give me a sec. That's going to annoy me while I try and remember what his name is. Hate it when I do this. Like, all the time. All the time. You had a video today. Where is it? I want to say the fictional escapist, but I don't think it is that. I don't think that's just me misremembering. Where is he? No, it is a fictional escapist. So, fictional escapist, where do your messages go? What messages? I didn't see any, but I'm not in YouTube Studio. What are the 3 books that you bookmarked out of curiosity? Just bought Myers and read it before buying it as a Halloween retelling. Nice. Nice. So I've reviewed 7. Some I've reviewed on Goodreads, not on Storygraph, for whatever reason. I generally do them on one and then forget to do it on the other one. And as you can see, my month for the actual reading bit was absolutely all over the place until the back end of the month. That was split over 2 days, not one. But yeah, we had a bit of a weird month in terms of reading. So, what did we read though? That's the question. And I'll go over them very, very quickly. I won't go into too much detail. So we have a couple of physicals. So What Stalks the Deep is a physical. Terry Pratchett, Lord and Ladies is a physical because I wanted a Fae read that was going to be good before I hit Akamath, and more fool me. And The Summer Hikaru Died was also physical. And then I have 2 audio books, Shadow Rising and Long Live Evil. So let's start with What Stalks the Deep, shall we? This is the 3rd book in this Worn Soldier series by T. Kingfisher, who is very, 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 very quickly becoming one of my favourite authors that's currently writing. At the moment, Noah's got my copy of this. This is the US cover. I prefer the UK one, but it's still a pretty good cover. This one's set in Appalachia. We're once again reunited with Alex Easton. No worries, hun. Enjoy your dinner. What you making? And William says, the tale of Genji, collapse, non-fiction, artificial wisdom. Was Margaret reading artificial wisdom? Or that sounds really nice. Or am I misremembering? I love nachos. I've had to, while I've been waiting, I went into work because I wanted snacks. And I ended up with tortilla roll, chip, crisp things, chili and lime flavour. And it's meant to be a sharing bag, and I ate all of them because I'm unhealthy. Anyway, back to the book. So, What Stalks Deep's 3rd book in the series. We're reunited with Alex Easton, and I can't remember what his companion is that travels with him. I want to say it's Albert, but it's not. Never mind. I've not got the book in front of me, so I can't remember. But basically, they get a telegram from Dr. Denton, who we met in book 1 of the series, who is an American doctor. And basically, their cousin's gone missing. And because of their history at dealing with spooky things in the ground, I snuck into work and avoided everyone that wasn't Noah and bought things and walked back out again. So in my defense, that was fine. I didn't engage with anything other than the sweets that I bought and the biscuits, because they're biscuits, not cookies. Anyone who calls it custard cream a cookie is wrong. Right, so tonally, there was, between books 1 and 2, there was a bit of a tonal shift, and that's continued into this one. This almost feels like wholesome horror. It's got really good representation, especially considering the time frame that this is set in. It made me laugh out loud a couple of times. There's a lot of humour in here. There is a little bit of grisliness, but nowhere near as much as the first 2. And it's a surprisingly fun read for a horror. And I also like the fact that the actual... what am I giving it 4.5? It's not meant to have a 4.5. Never mind. The actual monster of the week, so to speak, really did surprise me, the direction that Kingfisher went with that. So, like that a lot. It's only 175 pages, so a nice quick read. It came out on the 30th of September, I think. It was a 1-day read for me. So, Artificial Wisdom by Thomas Weaver. Bought on my trip to Europe. It's about an IR politician. Yeah, maybe I've seen you speaking about it in chat somewhere. I'm sure I've seen it somewhere in the last couple of weeks. Not the sort of thing that'd appear in mine, to be honest, but that's number one. So that was one of my horror reads for the month. Next up, we have The Flames That Bind Us by Noah Isaacs, which this is my reminder to go and request an arc of him for something. So, Noah Isaacs is a fantasy author, an indie author, and has already written book one of the Tales of Aram. And this is kind of a prequel set just beforehand, which a lot of indie authors seem to be doing right now. They're writing the main book and then doing almost like a taster book set just before to sort of tell something about the world or something about. That's where I saw it. Okay, I knew I'd seen it somewhere. Yeah, a taste with the world, or a taste with their writing, or a taste some little backstory for the characters. So I thought this was a good place to jump in. This one, you'll have a main character whose birth details are a little bit dubious, but they're not aware of that. All they know is that they've been left with relatives and their parents have just vanished somewhere. But there is something very specific about where and how and when they were born. And possibly a magical-esque bloodline in there. And they've started to have bad dreams. Now, a couple of people in the town are aware of this person's history. Speaks to one person, speaks obviously to their guardians, and it spooks one of the guardians in particular. When at the end of the book, those dreams sort of come true, you realise that this is some sort of magical gift/curse. So, and I believe it then jumps a few years into the future for the actual main book. Managed to get a hell of a lot into 100 pages. A hell of a lot into 100 pages. I do keep meaning to pick up book one, but I know it's just come out on audiobook, and I keep meaning to message Noah Isaacs for a promo code for it. So that was really good. That was a really good, strong fantasy novella. Disgraced Return of the Cat's Needle. I saw this, I think, on a Fictional Escapist channel, actually, when he was doing one of his sort of wrap-ups. And this isn't what I expected it to be, because I expected this to be one story, and it's actually three. Disgraced Return of the Cat's Needle is the longest of the stories. It takes about 70 pages, I'd say, maybe 80 of the book. And then you have another two stories that appear to be set loosely within the same universe, but only have very, very vague connectivity. The named story, Cat's Needle, is about a colony ship that's gone off to a brave new world, and when they've got there, not suitable of habitation because of fungal spores. Things went horribly wrong, and they've had to make their way back. But as you would expect, colony ship isn't designed to go back to Earth after it's made that thing. So the cryostasis chambers have failed overall. They have coolant leaks. Everything's going wrong. But they're having to make tough decisions to get back. And our main character in this has made some pretty immoral decisions over the course of the story, and this then starts to fall into very much what I like to call the Weyland-Yutani corrupt corporation approach, where actually maybe some of this was known beforehand, and maybe someone wanted to make a weapon out of it, or sell it as medicine, or whatever, and covering of tracks. So, really, really interesting end to this, which is a literal full circle moment for both the ship itself and the main character. The main character is an absolute ass, though, just to be clear. Very few redeeming features. And then the other stories function around AI, pretty much. One does reference Cat's Needle. I can't remember too much about the other one off the top of my head, but they have a very vague sort of thread, but it wasn't clear that these were 3 books in one. So, pretty decent. I would have liked it to have been longer. It's one of those stories where you could see it being a 250-page story and giving it a bit more time to breathe. But pretty good. Again, read it in a day. Well written. Pretty dark. It's actually a horror as well, so I know it doesn't say it there, but it would actually hit the horror tag as well. It just hasn't on storygraph. So that's Disgraced Return to Cap's Needle. Then, so I did the audiobook for this. 41 hours and 13 minutes, and I listen at normal speed because I'm a sadist. So I listened to the Rosamund Pike version. We'll be team which as I call later. No worries, hon. Have the best night you can. I look forward to seeing the pictures of what you've coloured in. Because I saw you've got some amazing colour therapy books that you've picked up. So, The Shadow Rising is the 4th book in the Wheel of Time series and is, yes, I know, JJ, normal speed. And it's a lot of people, it's generally considered by a lot of people to be the best Wheel of Time book. It's certainly seen as the book where Wheel of Time gets good. I don't necessarily agree with that. But I will say, this is where the book remembers how to do endings better, because the endings for books 1 and 2 in particular are tonally bonkers. This is a little bit more rounded, dare I say it. A lot goes on in this. I mean, this is the physical version. I've had this for years now. It's like 1,000 and some pages. A lot goes on in this. I'll be talking about my reread by the end of the month. I'm doing a video on books 1, 3, 4. This introduces more of the Forsaken. It introduces some of the rivalries. It changes up the political setup of the world. Rand is going slowly but surely insane. You have Perrin, who's very much on their journey of deciding between the axe and the hammer. If you've read the books, you'll understand. The logic for that is a hammer can be used as a tool as well as a weapon. Hello, back from writing out mail addresses. Oh, fun times. Now to go to the post office. Oh, you've got the weather that we've got. Yeah, it's lovely. To be fair, it's typical for the time. Yeah, at least it didn't rain on me last night when I was out, so there's a bonus. Chatting. Oh, we're chatting. No dog in this fight me. Yeah, Robert Jordan. A lot of people's favourite book. Not my favourite. I think it's better paced. It changes a lot of the status quo. It sets up a lot. There's a lot of foreshadowing in here. I really like the way it sets up the rivalry that develops between Nynaeve, who is my favourite character in the books, and Megiddian from the Forsaken. We have other Forsaken introduced as well. And what's really interesting with this one for me that the others don't do is the main characters have plot armor, like they do in most books, but the plot armor is explained in universe, and it becomes really obvious how it's leaned on in here. Is it a cop-out? Yes, but at least it's explained away because of the nature of our 3 main characters being Taviran. So, but immersive reading. I can't do immersive reading. Just on a side point. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. I'm a little bit gutted that as of right now, Rosamund Pike has not narrated anything past book 4, and I'm not sure if the intention is for her to continue, because the TV series kind of finished with book 4 adjacent content. But it was good. It was solid. I can understand why, if you get to this point, you'd stop reading the series. I do get that. But there's a lot of stuff in here. The only person who only got... It feels more... It's more focused on Rand, even though he's not really in it that much. And the time with Matt, whilst Matt's just Matt, it doesn't really move his arc forward a great deal, although it gives him the tools for his arc later on, and that becomes a major plot point with something that he gets in this. And Perrin, obviously, at this point, you're going through his romance arc with Fail, which I actually really like this time around. I like the dynamic between those two. So Overall, pretty good. From memory, I think I prefer the next book, which is Fires of Heaven. Yeah, Fires of Heaven. So that might be a physical read, though, as my next one. But yeah, 41 hours. It's a lot of hours. A lot of hours. It got me through some shifts at work, though, so... And then we have Long Live Evil, book 1 in the Time of Iron series by Sarah Reese Brennan, narrated by Moira Quirk. This is interesting. I know Luna got an arc of this last year over at the Cottage Goth Library. This was fun. I do think that this is a case of the narration made it more enjoyable for me. I've said before, I really like Moira Quirk as a narrator. Did an amazing job with the Gideon books. Blood Over Brighthaven, which I listened to as well. Again, great book, but the narration is on point. Voice actor, everyone gets their own voice. And it's very, very distinct in terms of both tone and accent. Now, the drawback with that is that this feels very similar in terms of tone to Gideon the Ninth, which is fine, but at times it felt like I was within that universe and not this one. And the conceit of this one is we have our main character, Ray, who is dying of cancer, and a mysterious person appears before them and goes, you know, if you go into the book world and I can send you there, if you can survive, I think it's a day, it probably is, it's probably a bit longer, if you can survive till this point, maybe it's a week, then there's a thing in there that can save your life. And she goes, ha, yeah, I'm hallucinating, whatever, yeah, I agree. Then wakes up in the body of one of the people in the book, and has to become a villain. And there's a few lines in here that are really, really quotable around book boyfriends is one. You don't know what they look like, you just know you're attracted to them. That's a paraphrase. I like how stilted the dialogue is at times, because they're not the only character who's been transported into this book series. So they're trying to act like a bit of a prophet to save their own life. But when they meet another character and they talk to them and they realise it's like, yeah, I'm from New York. It's like, excuse me? And then the way the dialogue shifts there, it sounds more believable than it does between the various different characters. But also what's interesting is the fact that the knowledge of the books between the two is different. So this is obviously a revised edition of the book. So the other person who's been in, yeah, they read a different version where characters had different endings. So, and them Ray's trying to survive the book and sort of get the happy ending for the character that she likes, has some really, really interesting consequences. I don't know if I'd like it as much if I read it, though. But solid 3.75. Moira Quirk smashes it again. Just in general, a lot of fun. Again, 17-hour audiobook, though. It's another long one. I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to go next to Lords and Ladies by Terry Pratchett. In fact, no, we'll do it in the proper order. So, I don't know how to say the name. I think it's Cassius, although it might be Cassius, I'm not sure. Here we go. A Dirge for Cassius, Part 1 by Callum Lott. Part 2 is, he's just finished writing, I believe. This was really, really good. Do I like longer audiobooks? Not necessarily. It depends on... It's the narrator that sells it for me, to be honest. Some narrators I really do not care for. At all. Like, remotely. But there's some that I really, really do like. I listened to an audiobook. I finished listening to it yesterday, actually. Which was a book that I read the month before. It was only 3 hours long, but the audio narrator was just not for me. But I don't mind long audiobooks. It depends on what it is, because I don't really pay as much attention to audio as I do when I'm reading. But I don't like to speed it up because unless it's some very specific narrators, I don't like the loss of cadence in the voice work. It doesn't work for me, if that makes sense, because I'm odd. So, but yeah, A Dirge for Cassius. So 475 pages. I read the ebook version. I saw this as a recommendation for, if you like this video game, try this book. And the video game in question is called Disco Elysium, which is set in an fantasy-ish world. It's like a dystopia, and you play an amnesiac policeman who has had some personal issues and has drank himself into oblivion whilst he should be investigating a murder. And he's sort of gone on a period of self-discovery with this character throughout the course of the game. This has a similar vibe, but in a sci-fi setting. It took me a little bit of time to get into this. This does the sci-fi thing of throwing a lot of terms at you with very little explanation, which can get really, really frustrating. But that didn't last too long before you started seeing it in action. It started to make sense. The idea of this, you have Cassius, who is basically an investigator for hire. Specifically, he works for a quasi-religious sect. And there's been these murders going on of certain high priests. They've happened X amount of days apart. I think this is the third or fourth one that they're aware of. And he is the maverick. He is the best investigator in the galaxy. However, he's lived longer than a human should. He's had some horrific trauma, including losing their partners in the past. There's a personal stake in this for him as well, which gets revealed over the course of the story. And it very much has been in a case of almost like a spiral of depression and trauma and not dealing or facing that trauma. Driven home by the fact that he lives on a world that's dead and destroyed except for a tree. One tree outside, which one of their ex-lovers planted, and it was the only thing that just kept blooming. And then that just died. And there is a chapter in this which explains what's happened with that, and that chapter hits so hard, like genuinely the most hard-hitting chapter I've read in a book this year. And that put this to 5-star Goodreads thingy straight away. It loses a little bit of mark because of the early stuff in here. The early sort of throwing of terminology at you, but got past that pretty quickly. They're also forced to take on a partner for this. They haven't had a partner for a long, long time. The partner reminds them of one of their ex-partners who they were bonded to, and they have a really, really interesting sort of interaction going on as well. The partner isn't human, worth mentioning that here, but was brought up by humans. They also have their own demons. I am really excited to see what book 2 holds, because this put me through the ringer. It really did. Now, Callum has done 2 other books. One's come out this week, actually, set in the same universe. One's called, I think, Sarcoma, which gives me Space Cowboy vibes. And I can't remember the name of his latest one. It's just come out. All got stunning covers. Akuma, I think it is, sorry. I'll be reading that probably next month. I don't think I'll get to it this month. But they're all set within the same universe as well, which is something that I really, really, really like. So, my book of the month by a long shot. That's A Dirge for Cassius by Callum Lott. Now we're on to Terry Pratchett, because after that I needed a pick-me-up. So I went back to Pratchett and I went back into the Witches series, and I was going to read Masquerade and then realised that this, I think, is actually the next book from the one that I read last. This is basically the Witches versus the Fae. And I decided to read this because I knew I was reading a Courts book afterwards. And I was ready to be so annoyed at Sarah J. Maas that I wanted to read some good Fae representation first. I love the focus on storytelling here. I love the idea that over time people forget the actual meaning behind the stories. It's like that whole thing with Grimm's fairy tales, or the original fairy tales that have now been Disneyfied. They all start with blood somewhere, and that's kind of how the Fae have been perceived here. I love the way that Granny Weatherwax wins, which I always do. It's just it's not a fun book to read, not by Pratchett standards. It has plenty of that trademark humour in there. I love the fact that you're looking at the Fae going, oh yes, these are... likening them to cats. Pretty to look at. Killing machines. If they were human size, you'd be dead. But it was a great palate cleanser. It's always nice to dive back into Pratchett's world anyway. I don't know what I'm reading next. I might hit Masquerade next, actually. Get that Phantom of the Opera twist. I like the use of stories to win the day as well. And the idea of, at the end, it's like, look, one day you will win, but it's not yet. The world doesn't need you back yet. One day it will. Not now. And also some diving back into Granny Weatherwax's past as well. That was interesting and unexpected. So, and how angry she is that somewhere in an alternative universe, she ended up settling down and having kids with a wizard, and how much she hates that is great. Then we had a graphic novel. Now, The Summer Hikaru Died. I don't know how many books are in this series. I have picked up book 2. I've not read it yet. I'll read it this month. So this is a horror novella. Kind of horror novella. Not novella. Manga, I should say. I saw someone talking about the anime adaptation for this that got me really interested. And The Summer Hikaru Died is basically a story of Yoshiki and Hikaru, two best friends for many, many, many years. And Hikaru goes missing during like the summer holidays and then reappears about a month later. And there's something slightly off. All the memories are there, but something's not quite right. And what I really like about this is that this shows its hand really early on, where Yoshiki goes, "You're not Hikaru, are you?" And it's like, yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm just wearing his body like a skin suit. But I've really enjoyed the last month because I really like you, and I have all his memories, and he really liked you too. There is a homoerotic subtext to this. It is suggested that they may have had a crush on each other, although as of this point, it's not been totally made clear. The artwork is very, very creepy in places. I like the fact that it does show its hand really, really early on. Most books would sort of tease that out a little bit. Well, there's also something else going on with whatever this thing is inside Hikaru. And worth mentioning as well, has all the memories, but then when he experiences things like, for example, ice cream, tasting ice cream, the reaction to tasting that, even though he has the memory of the taste, has a real visceral feeling because it's something real and tangible. And this thing, whatever it has, is getting all these experiences for the first time, is really, really liking it, and generally does like Hikaru as well. And is very, very not Hikaru, sorry, Yoshiki's one is really, really protective over him. To the point where does intervene at times with potential other demons. Now, there's something else going on. This demon sort of coming into the body and coming into town is having an effect on the town itself. There's obviously other supernatural things at play. But the times when this sort of dives into its more horror drawing, the artwork is absolutely brilliant. Really, really good. It feels like it has a lot of heart. Okay. There's 63 books. Well, shit. I have 2. But let's see if we can find a nice, easy example of the artwork without spoiling anything. It uses a lot where it switches... Best way to describe it. It switches its art style between what its base colour is. That's the best way I could put it. Because obviously they're always black and white, but normally white is the background. And a number of times in here, when it hits those horror moments, it inverts it. So your background is all blacks and greys rather than white. And white is used to highlight the shapes and everything. It works really, really, really well. I I'm going to watch the anime, I think, as well. I kind of really, really... There we go. So, example of more horror-themed artwork. Whereas you have like your more normal sort of brighter colour palette on other pages. So, yeah, I'll probably watch the anime. I know season 1 is out. I'm not sure season 2 is yet. But really, really good. Again, read it. It's a manga, so it's a couple of hours to get through it. But really good. Highly I've suggested no read it. It feels like the sort of thing that he'd read. So, yeah. 63 though. That's a lot of money. That's £630 at least. And finally, we have Nothing Land by Catherine Silver. This is the 3rd book in the Deadlands series. And this is a weird one because, and it was mentioned in the actual author note at the end, that this was never intended to be a series, but the reception was really, really positive, and they enjoyed writing these characters so much. Oh, 63 individual chapters. Okay. That's not as bad. Don't know how many. That's probably still like 20 books. How many chapters is in this? Is it 5? That's a bonus chapter. That's a horrific monster creature. It still has that new book smell as well, which I really appreciate. We all like that new book smell. Okay, how many? 63. So, oh, maybe 10 then. That's not too bad. I can justify that. That's not rain. That's me. Unless you mean at yours, that's me just turning the pages because it's got that nice noise. That is quite a nice noise, actually. I have to use that for an entrance. Yours, okay, fair enough. I don't know if it's raining here now. I hope not, for Noah's sake, because he should be walking home about now. So, Nothing Land. So, Catherine Silver has said that this wasn't meant to be a series. They just really enjoyed writing the character. And it was really positively received. So, they've ended up building out. And the last book left with such a sort of mic drop moment. Yeah, Soggy Gnome. As he's not here, you have that just to remind us that he exists behind me. He comes in at that exact point. I'm going to laugh. I don't know if he's going to forgive me after the film yesterday. So this is the last stage of our main character's kind of quest for revenge on the person who killed one of her dads. She had 2 dads. And at the end of the last book, we realised one of those dads was still alive and was a bad guy, but trying to keep lots of people away. So this is one going for the person who actually did, in the end, was responsible for the death of her father. And they end up making friends with a clown. They end up in like this sort of traveling circus that they remember from when they was a kid, discovering who this person is that they're looking for, where they'll be able to find them, that they're not the first person to try and do this. And you do have some supernatural... That's a flower, Jenny. It's a flower. It's nothing else. Right. I mean, don't give him ideas, please. You won't get me in fancy dress for Christmas anyway. So this series as a whole feels like it should have been one book, split into 3 parts. And I think this is one where if I'd read them all together, it would have worked better for me. I think it's pretty good. The ending makes sense, and the author has said they are going to write more of these characters beyond this story. This did not have the brutality of the first 2. It did have an action scene, but it felt like it just was done too fast. I like how there is magic in this and how it was shown that it actually does work. I also like the fact that certain plants are like delicacies at this point, because this is post-apocalypse for whatever reason, not sure what actually happened. So there's a massive focus on like trains and stuff. Also, something's been hunting this person for years and they didn't know. It was kept from them by their parents when they were younger. So there was a lot going on within this world that we still don't know. Well, this does feel like the end to a one-book arc that could be a much bigger story. So I do recommend people give this series a try out. I would say, however, read the 3 books together. It will come to about 350 pages in total. But it works better if you do it that way. So that is everything that I read in October. So for November, we have Alpha, which I'm reading, which is the arc that I got from Fictional Escapist. We obviously have Court of Mist and Fury as well, which I'm nearly halfway through. And then I have 2 audiobooks, Network Effect, which I think is book 4, book 5? It's whichever book I'm up to in the Murderbot series anyway. And also 6 Scorched Roses, which is a romantasy. It's the same series that has a serpent and the wings of night in it, which I did quite like. This is a novella following one of the side characters who I meet in that. And I liked the first 2 books. The series seems to be split into 3 duologies. So I'm curious to see how 6 Scorched Roses goes. Turns out I already have book 1 of Deadlands. Don't remember buying it. So MJ covered it and reviewed it, not about the time it came out. That's why I picked it up, actually. I really, really liked it. So that may be where you discovered it in the first place. Although it is you may have just seen it and gone, oh, bye. Which I haven't done this month. With 3 days in, I've not bought any books yet. Go me. I'm at Trafford Centre tomorrow. We'll see how that lasts. But there we go. That's the only 4 books I'm planning on reading at the moment this month. I will be reading more than that. I just haven't planned my month because unlike Elaine, I am a chaotic kitten. But that's it. Before we go, does anyone have anything they wish to promote or speak about before we say goodnight? Like I said, it's only a quick one today. Am I doing non-fiction? I never do non-fiction. Never. I've not read a single non-fiction book this year, which is shocking. I have a few to read. I've got a couple of political ones. I have an economics one. I have I have a couple of economics ones, actually. I have a mythology one, although I'm not sure if you class that as non-fiction. And I still have the Inca book that I keep saying I'm going to read. I still haven't. But this year has been, I think it's been entirely. See, I'm wondering now, is it? No, my Pretty Egyptian one is still over there somewhere. I will read it one day. Have I actually? I'm sure. Yeah, all fiction this year. Like I said, I do have one to do with Velocity of the Inca, which is a folio edition, which I do want to read because I find it fascinating and I haven't read enough about Central American civilization. Thinking could come under Central America. It gets a bit skewy where Central and North America ends sometimes. So that'll probably be after Christmas. I mean, I do have a lot. I'm only working 8 shifts this month, so maybe I'll get to it. It depends. But I have so many books that I need to get to. I want to read Mushroom Blues by Adrian Gibson, which is a fungal punk police mystery thing. I want to read that. What else do I want to read? I've got so many. I also need to record my bookcase tour. More to the point. I need to do that at some point. I know what I'm reading in December, bizarrely. December's planned out, but I've not planned out November, because why would I? Oh, I'll probably hit Tainted Khan by Taran Matharu as well, because, yeah. Oh, yeah, I've got the last week in November. I'm off this week. Then I'm back in next week. I'm on full hours next week. In fact, I'm on overtime next week. Then the week after, I'm working a 5-hour shift on the Monday. and 2 other days, and then I'm off for a week again. So probably get some reading done. I'll probably get a chunk of Akatar done. I'll probably do a little bit more Akatar tonight. Not Akatar, Akamath tonight. A little bit tomorrow before I meet other Jenny, because she's back from New Zealand now. So I want to know all about her exciting adventures. I think she's watching, just not in the chat. So hi, Jenny. So that's tomorrow. On Wednesday, I'm recording with Noah, because we're doing like the podcasty thing again, for one last time. So we're going to be doing that. I'm doing a full review for Dirge for Cassius for the weekend, and I've got to finish this and read Alpha. Once that's out the way, then I can sort of plan my month properly. But that's it. That's it from me. So if there is no other business... Oh, one other thing, actually. I am going to try, it might be Thursday, it might be weekend. I'm going to have another attempt at streaming Monkey Island, because I have no idea what the hell was going on the other day. So the video is up of my game. I've spliced it a little bit to cut some of the crap out of it, where it just went dead. But the gameplay video for Monkey Island from the other day, which includes the incredibly frustrating questionnaire, is up for people to watch if people want to watch it. I will be continuing the gameplay from the closest save to where that ends, which I suspect is the next area that I was going into anyway. And then live at the end of the month. And that's it, I think. But thank you so much for joining me. We're coming in at... No, I've not. It's bizarre. Once in a blue moon, the electric, because it's an old house, just throw a wobbler for no... There was nobody else in the house either. So normally it's someone else has turned something like a toaster on or something and it blows it, but it's just blown it out twice. So I've taken things apart, cleaned it. I've had a play about with various different things. I've changed the fuse as well in the plug, just on the off chance. I know it's not very likely, but just replace things. Bruce did. Bruce was outside because he'd irritated me. But I've had the computer on all day today. I've been playing more demanding games. That, yeah, Ghost... I mean, it's possible. Maybe Noah's Ghost has finally followed me home. But I've had the computer on all day today. I've been playing City Skylines 2, which is a bit more demanding of a game, especially with its new update. And it's been fine today, so God only knows. As long as it doesn't do it again next time, we'll be fine. But yeah, that will be... It might be Thursday, but I've not got the kids this weekend, so I could actually do it on the weekend, actually, and get it all finished again. So, and then that's another one ticked off, and then I could potentially look at moving back over to Twitch for maybe Disco Elysium. Maybe. We'll see. But that's it from me. I hope you all have a... What have I just pressed? I don't know. Oh, no. There we go. I know what I've done. Okay. There we go. Right. So that's it from me for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. That's the 9 books that I read in October. So overall, a solid reading month. This month is starting surprisingly strong with a book that I thought I'd hate. We'll see if it continues down that thing. But thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great rest of the week. It's only Monday, so things can only get better if you've had a bad start, and things will stay amazing if you had a good one. But thank you so much, and I will catch you all very, very soon. Have a good night, everyone.